Welcome back to Edgar Cayce Narratives, where we uncover the lost language of the body and the healing wisdom of the soul. How could a simple oil become a bridge between body, mind, and soul? Imagine America in the early 1900s, a time when medicine was racing toward laboratories and chemistry. Physicians were turning to pills and tonics, while nature's quiet remedies sat forgotten on dusty shelves. And yet, in a small town in Virginia, a humble man named Edgar Cayce began entering deep trance states. And through that state of expanded awareness, he saw the body not as a machine, but as a living symphony of energy, consciousness, and divine order. As Cayce spoke in sleep, his words carried both tenderness and precision. He described internal organs as living communities, connected by rivers of energy and light. He spoke of the liver not only as a filter, but as the keeper of life's rhythm. He spoke of the lymphatic system as the silent river that renews. And in hundreds of these readings, one substance appeared again and again, a golden oil drawn from the castor bean, simple yet sacred. For Cayce, castor oil was not merely a substance. It was a vibration of life itself. He called it a remedy of the highest order, a living conduit through which the body could remember its original harmony. Picture a small glass bottle on a wooden table, catching the morning sun. The oil within glows like amber light, calm, viscous, patient. Cayce believed this oil could awaken the body's innate cleansing forces, stimulating the liver, soothing inflammation, and harmonizing the rhythms that connect body and spirit. To those who sought his help, he prescribed castor oil packs not as medicine, but as ritual, a sacred act of cooperation between matter and consciousness. Each drop, he said, carried a form of intelligence, a whisper from the divine design that built the human form. The question, then, is not what castor oil does, but why it works the way it does. How could something so ordinary hold such power to restore balance, peace, and vitality? To understand why Cayce called it sacred, we must go deeper, into the trance readings themselves, where he described the body as a field of moving light and the oil as a catalyst of renewal. There, in the quiet between breath and word, the mystery of this forgotten elixir begins to unfold. In over 500 medical readings, Cayce described this humble oil as a sacred remedy, capable of awakening the body's inner rivers of healing. This is where our story begins, where intuition met biology, and faith met the flow of life itself. Let me know in the comments where and what time you're watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell to stay inspired by Cayce's timeless healing stories. In the soft light of dawn, Edgar Cayce's voice would emerge from silence, slow, steady, and strangely peaceful. People would gather in his small office in Virginia Beach, waiting as he entered a deep sleep and began to speak. What he revealed often surprised even the physicians present. His descriptions of illness were not mechanical or detached. They were intimate, poetic, filled with reverence for the body as a living temple. Among all the remedies that appeared in his medical readings, one stood apart. Cayce referred to castor oil as a remedy of the highest order. He didn't see it as a drug or a cure in the modern sense. Instead, he described it as a channel, a natural conductor of energy that worked with the body's intelligence, not against it. In more than 500 documented readings, Cayce recommended castor oil for an extraordinary range of conditions: liver congestion, constipation, glandular imbalance, arthritis, chronic fatigue, even emotional exhaustion. Each time, his instructions followed a sacred pattern: stimulation, elimination, harmony. He taught that every true healing required 3 movements. First, stimulation, awakening the body's dormant forces. Second, elimination, releasing what the body no longer needs. Third, harmony, the restoration of natural rhythm between the physical and spiritual systems. To Cayce, the liver was not simply an organ, it was the conductor of life's orchestra, setting the tempo for circulation, digestion, and emotional flow. "Cleanse the liver," he said, "and you cleanse the mind." In Reading 6311, his voice offered a sentence that still echoes through generations of holistic healers. Castor oil packs help awaken the activity of the liver and the body's cleansing forces. These words, simple yet profound, captured his philosophy. That healing begins by remembering how to flow again. When the internal rivers move freely, the soul can breathe more deeply through the body. Those who tried the remedy often reported not just physical relief, but emotional calm, as if the act itself rekindled a lost trust in the body's wisdom. Cayce believed that within each drop of castor oil lived a principle of renewal, a golden vibration aligned with the same creative energy that sustains all life. He once told a patient that the oil's action was not limited to chemistry, but extended to the very essence of the cells, reminding them of the pattern they were designed to follow. It was this belief that transformed an ordinary household substance into something sacred, a quiet messenger between the visible and the unseen. To the modern mind, such language might sound mystical, even naive. Yet Cayce's words were grounded in observation. Patients improved. They recovered movement, sleep, digestion, and peace of mind. His so-called divine prescription was simple, affordable, and consistent, an oil that re-educated the body toward balance. As we listen to these readings today, we begin to see the pattern emerge, a rhythm that unites body and spirit through warmth, stillness, and trust. The next question is how this remedy actually works. What is it about this oil that sets the body's inner rivers flowing again? To answer that, we must enter the world of modern physiology, where Cayce's intuitive words about life forces moving through the glands find astonishing confirmation in the science of the lymphatic system. Modern science has finally begun to speak the language that Edgar Cayce whispered a century ago. When he described the movement of life forces through the glands, he was unknowingly pointing toward what we now call the lymphatic system, a vast, silent network that cleanses every cell, drains waste, and keeps the body in motion. Cayce didn't have a medical degree. He had no instruments, no microscopes, no formal study of anatomy. Yet through his trance readings, he spoke of lymph flow as if he could see it, as streams of light carrying energy through the body's tissues. In his view, stagnation of this flow caused fatigue, inflammation, and imbalance. Restoring movement brought life back to the system. Today, we understand that the lymphatic system is indeed the body's hidden river, a circulatory system without a pump, relying on gentle movement, breathing, and rhythm. When it slows, toxins build up, immunity weakens, and inflammation begins. And remarkably, castor oil packs seem to do exactly what Cayce described. They stimulate that river to move again. Research now shows that applying castor oil to the skin, especially over the liver or abdomen, increases lymphatic activity and enhances blood circulation. The warmth of the pack softens connective tissue and encourages detoxification through the skin, bowels, and kidneys. In Cayce's words, it awakens the cleansing forces. In modern terms, it promotes drainage, elimination, and regeneration. Picture this process the way Cayce might have seen it. Golden light flowing through translucent channels, moving like tidewater through the body's inner landscape. Every cell receives oxygen, every gland rebalances its rhythm, every pathway clears. The oil becomes more than a remedy. It becomes a conductor of renewal. When people use the packs consistently, they often describe sensations that match Cayce's imagery. A gentle warmth, a soft pulsing under the ribs, a release of tension, followed by deep calm. Some say their sleep improves. Others feel lighter, less burdened, more centered. These aren't coincidences. They're signs of the lymphatic river beginning to flow again. The mechanism, both physical and symbolic, is one of movement. Castor oil, rich in ricinoleic acid, penetrates deeply into tissues, reducing inflammation and stimulating lymphocyte production. At the same time, the ritual of stillness, lying quietly with warmth over the liver, soothes the nervous system and restores parasympathetic balance. In essence, it unites the two currents of life, biological flow and inner peace. Cayce once said, "When the energies of the body are balanced, the emotions of the soul find their rest." That statement could describe what modern science now calls the gut-brain axis, or the link between stress, immunity, and digestion. Through this lens, the castor oil pack becomes not just therapy, but meditation, a rhythmic dialogue between body and spirit. Each time the oil is applied, the body remembers how to let go, how to circulate, how to breathe from within. Cayce foresaw this unity long before researchers could explain it. For him, the lymph was light, the organs were instruments, and castor oil was the tuning fork that brought them back into harmony. But beyond theories and metaphors, what truly revealed its power were the people, the ones who tried it and healed. Their stories became living proof that this simple oil could rekindle life where disease once ruled. And so, to understand its true significance, we now turn to the human side of the readings, the healing stories that carried hope across generations. They came to Edgar Cayce when medicine could no longer explain their pain. Some were physicians themselves, seeking what science had overlooked. Others were ordinary men and women carrying years of silent suffering. What they found was not a miracle potion or a new drug, but a quiet act of faith, a ritual involving warmth, oil, and stillness. One case, recorded in the 1930s, told of a man crippled by chronic arthritis. His joints were swollen, his nights restless with pain. Doctors prescribed sedatives and strict rest, yet his body grew weaker. In his reading, Cayce described the man's system as clogged rivers, his eliminations sluggish, his energies trapped. The prescription was astonishingly simple: daily castor oil packs over the abdomen and along the spine, a clean diet rich in vegetables and mineral water, and gentle movement once the stiffness eased. For weeks, the man followed the routine. Each evening he warmed the flannel, soaked it in oil, and lay still beneath the gentle heat. Slowly, he began to feel a pulse, not of pain, but of flow. His joints softened, the swelling subsided. After months, he walked again without the cane he once depended on. Another story spoke of a woman battling liver congestion and exhaustion. She had lost appetite, color, and hope. Cayce advised daily packs, followed by quiet meditation or prayer during the treatment. "Rest in the warmth," he said, "and let the body remember its rhythm." She described the experience later as a warmth that seemed to forgive my body. Within weeks, her energy returned, her complexion brightened, her spirit lifted. Such stories filled the archives, not tales of instant miracles, but of cooperation between faith and physiology. Each recovery carried the same pattern. Stagnation transformed into movement. Despair transformed into peace. To Cayce, these were not coincidences, but demonstrations of divine law. Healing, he said, begins when the soul cooperates with the body. The act of applying the pack became a symbolic prayer, a conversation between the visible and the invisible, between the intelligence of the cells and the guidance of the spirit. The oil, he explained, carried both chemical and vibrational power. Its fatty acids nourished the tissues, while its vibratory nature harmonized the electromagnetic fields of the organs. In his words, each organ sings its note. When one falls out of tune, disease begins. The castor oil pack was like placing a tuning fork upon the instrument, bringing the body back to its proper pitch. Modern listeners may hear this as metaphor, yet science today often speaks the same way, in frequencies, rhythms, and coherence. These case stories show us what Cayce meant, that the body's healing isn't commanded, it's invited. The oil does not force change, it reminds the body of its own design. Through these individuals, the remedy became a symbol of faith in the natural order. When they lay still beneath the warm pack, they entered a sacred rhythm of listening, to their breath, to their heartbeat, to the whisper of life returning. Each case ended not with the word cured, but with the phrase Cayce preferred, restored to balance. And balance, to him, was the true definition of health, the alignment of the physical current with the spiritual current. From these stories, one truth emerges. Castor oil was never just about the body. It was about awakening a forgotten conversation between the soul's will to heal and the body's ability to respond. As we move forward, we step beyond physical examples and into the deeper realm that Cayce called the spiritual dimension of healing, where oil, prayer, and light become one current of divine mercy flowing through human form. To Edgar Cayce, healing was never only physical. He believed that every illness, every symptom, was a conversation between the soul and the body, a message written in tissue and energy, asking to be understood. In that sacred dialogue, castor oil became more than a tool. It became a symbol of compassion, a physical prayer that translated spiritual light into tangible form. In several readings, Cayce described the oil as carrying the vibration of light and mercy. When a patient applied a warm castor oil pack, he said, the body entered a state of quiet receptivity, not only to circulation and cleansing, but to divine influence. The act of resting in stillness, with warmth over the liver, mirrored the process of prayer itself, opening, softening, and allowing grace to move where will alone could not. This was the true spiritual meaning of the ritual. The pack wasn't meant merely to draw out toxins. It was meant to draw the person inward, to restore the harmony between thought, emotion, and physiology. As the heat spread across the abdomen, it invited the nervous system to slow, the mind to quiet, and the heart to release tension. Cayce called this a vibration of mercy moving through the body. He often reminded patients that every healing act, no matter how small, required cooperation between body and soul. The physical is the result of the spiritual, he said. When you cleanse the emotions of fear and resentment, the glands will know it. This connection between inner forgiveness and outer vitality became a cornerstone of his philosophy. In modern language, we might call this psychoneuroimmunology, the science of how emotion and thought influence immunity and healing. But for Cayce, the explanation was simpler. Energy follows consciousness. When you lie still with gratitude, the body's cells feel it. When you breathe forgiveness, the liver responds. When you rest in peace, the lymph flows freely. The castor oil pack therefore became a mirror for the entire healing process, the outer act representing an inner transformation. The oil's warmth resembled divine love. The flannel's softness represented compassion, and the slow rhythm of the treatment mirrored the breath of the spirit. Through repetition, the ritual trained the body to remember its sacred order. In this way, spiritual energy flow and biological detoxification were not two separate processes, but two languages describing the same truth. The flow of life reclaiming its balance. The moment of stillness beneath the warm cloth was a meditation on unity, of chemistry and prayer, of electricity and emotion. As the packs restored physical circulation, they also softened the emotional heart. Patients often reported a surprising sense of peace afterward, not euphoria, but quiet equilibrium. "It felt as if my body forgave me," one woman wrote. That single sentence captured what Cayce meant by healing, not conquering disease, but reconciling with the self. He once told a follower, "The body is not punished by disease, it is instructed." Illness was never the enemy. It was a teacher, a reminder to realign one's inner and outer life. The oil, in his view, carried the mercy of that teaching, gentle, patient, and luminous. As the 20th century moved toward machines and medication, Cayce's approach seemed out of step. Yet, like a quiet hymn beneath the noise of progress, it continued to resonate. His followers preserved the practice not as superstition, but as devotion, a way to experience the divine through the most ordinary of acts, resting, warming, cleansing, and listening. And now, decades later, science is beginning to catch up, tracing in molecular pathways what Cayce once saw in light. The bridge between intuition and evidence grows smaller every year. In the next part of this story, we step into that bridge, where modern research begins to confirm what the sleeping prophet intuited long before technology could prove it. When Edgar Cayce first spoke of castor oil in his readings, his words seemed poetic, even mystical, far from the language of laboratories and medical journals. Yet a century later, science has begun to trace the same pathways he described, using microscopes and molecular studies to confirm what intuition once revealed through stillness. Researchers have discovered that castor oil contains a unique compound, ricinoleic acid, which penetrates deeply through the skin and interacts with sensory nerves. This compound stimulates the lymphatic system, enhances circulation, and encourages the elimination of metabolic waste. It's as if the oil truly awakens the cleansing forces Cayce spoke of. Studies now show improved lymph flow, reduced inflammation, and accelerated detoxification when the oil is applied as a warm compress. But what's most remarkable is how closely these findings echo Cayce's own words. In the 1920s, he described the body as a system of rivers that must keep moving or disease sets in. Today, lymphatic mapping reveals that stagnation in these channels contributes to fatigue, swelling, hormonal imbalance, and immune dysfunction. Modern physiology is finally catching up to Cayce's metaphor. The rivers must flow for life to remain vibrant. Integrative and naturopathic doctors around the world now include castor oil packs in detox programs, liver support protocols, and even hormone balancing therapies. They observe that patients who use them regularly report better digestion, calmer sleep, and fewer inflammatory symptoms. The gentle rhythm of warmth and stillness calms the nervous system, guiding the body toward the parasympathetic state, the state in which healing naturally occurs. This alignment between intuition and evidence is no coincidence. Cayce often said, "When intuition meets understanding, wisdom becomes truth." In today's terms, we might call it the meeting of energy medicine and biological science, two sides of the same healing law. One speaks in light, the other in chemistry, yet both describe the same dance between flow and harmony. What modern research adds is detail. Improved liver enzyme activity, increased circulation of immune cells, and measurable anti-inflammatory effects. But what it cannot measure, and what Cayce never wanted to reduce to data, is the feeling that accompanies healing. That quiet peace that enters the body as warmth spreads across the skin. The sense of being reconnected to something ancient and intelligent. The difference between Cayce's era and ours is only vocabulary. Where he spoke of vibration, we now speak of frequency. Where he described life forces, we speak of bioelectric energy. Where he saw mercy and light, we see neurotransmitters and nitric oxide flow. And yet, the essence remains unchanged. Healing happens when energy moves freely through form. Each scientific paper published on castor oil's effects becomes, in a way, a modern footnote to Cayce's legacy. He did not need instruments to perceive what modern imaging now confirms, that the body is not static matter, but dynamic motion. The beauty of this rediscovery lies not in proving him right, but in realizing how wisdom flows in cycles. What the mystic saw through intuition, the scientist now sees through the lens of biology. The gap between them narrows with every study, and in that convergence, we find something profound. Healing is both art and science, both soul and structure. As we recognize the evidence that supports Cayce's insights, we return to a timeless question. If this simple oil can harmonize body and spirit, could its use itself be a kind of prayer, a tangible act of remembrance that science alone cannot explain? To explore that mystery, we must look not at data, but at experience, at the ritual Cayce taught, a rhythm of warmth and stillness that invites the divine to work through the body's own design. If you were to step into Edgar Cayce's healing room in Virginia Beach a century ago, you would not find machines or glowing instruments. You would find a wooden table, a glass bottle of golden oil, a folded piece of flannel, and a quiet lamp burning softly by the window. Healing for Cayce began not with medicine, but with ritual, an intentional rhythm that aligned the body's chemistry with the soul's awareness. He taught that castor oil was most powerful when used with reverence. Each step, from warming the oil to resting in stillness, formed part of a sacred dialogue between the human and the divine. The process was simple, yet deeply symbolic. Prepare the cloth, a piece of soft flannel, folded and soaked in warm castor oil until saturated but not dripping. Apply the pack. Place it gently over the liver, or wherever congestion and tension were felt. Add warmth. Use a heating pad or hot water bottle to keep the oil at body temperature for 1 to 1.5 hours. Rest and receive. During that time, remain still, breathe slowly, and invite peace into the body. Repeat the cycle, 3 days of treatment, followed by 4 days of rest. The rhythm Cayce called the natural law of renewal. He explained that this rhythm mirrored the body's own cycles of creation and assimilation. Activity followed by rest. Cleansing followed by integration. 3 days for the forces to awaken, he said, and 4 for the body to build anew. Many who followed this ritual described not just physical benefits, relief from pain, clearer digestion, improved sleep, but also a deep sense of calm. They said it felt as though time slowed, as though something unseen was reorganizing their inner world. The warmth of the oil seemed to touch emotions as much as tissues. Cayce often emphasized that the attitude during the treatment mattered as much as the technique. One should not rush or treat it as routine, but as meditation, an act of cooperation with the Creator's design. He advised prayer or gentle music, a quiet mind, and gratitude for the body's wisdom. To him, Healing was not an act of conquest, but of surrender, a willingness to let the body remember what the mind had forgotten. In modern words, this is parasympathetic activation, the nervous system shifting from defense to restoration. But in Cayce's language, it was grace, the moment when divine energy flows through flesh without resistance. The flannel became an altar, the oil a blessing. The true power of this practice lay not only in the chemistry of the oil, but in the consciousness of the act. Each time someone placed the warm pack over their body, they were performing a small ceremony of reconciliation, between effort and ease, between will and acceptance. The body, soothed by heat and touch, responded in kind. Circulation opened, toxins released, and peace settled where tension once lived. He called this state attunement. And within that attunement, people rediscovered that healing was never outside them. It was within, waiting to be remembered. As the treatment concluded, Cayce advised washing the area with mild soap and cool water, a symbolic gesture of closure, a return to wakefulness. The body, refreshed, entered a new phase of balance. It is said that many who practiced this method felt something beyond relief. They felt presence, a subtle awareness of life moving through them, as if the warmth of the oil was also the warmth of consciousness itself. To perform this ritual today is to touch the same current that guided Cayce's words, to enter a moment of timeless cooperation between the physical and the divine. And as the oil glows in the light, we are reminded of his enduring message. Healing is not imposed, it is invited. From the ancient vibration of castor oil rises a truth as old as the body itself, that renewal begins the moment we listen. In the end, Edgar Cayce's teachings on castor oil were never about the oil alone. They were about remembering what it means to live in harmony, to see the body not as a machine to fix, but as a sacred instrument tuned by light, rhythm, and intention. He saw healing as a natural law, a movement of divine energy through the fabric of the human form. Castor oil became his symbol for that movement. Simple, humble, yet radiant with purpose. He called it the hand of healing light, a gift through which the body could recall its own wisdom. To apply it was to enter a state of partnership with the Creator, to let warmth and stillness awaken something deeper than biology, the memory of balance. Today, as modern science confirms what Cayce once intuited, we stand at a rare meeting point between intuition and evidence. The language may have changed, from vibration to frequency, from life forces to bioelectric flow, but the truth remains the same. Healing happens when the heart, the mind, and the body remember they are one. In this remembrance, pain softens, breath deepens, and the quiet voice of the soul becomes audible again. The ritual of the castor oil pack, repeated with intention, becomes more than treatment. It becomes meditation. The warmth seeps not only into tissues, but into the spaces where fear and tension have lived too long. It teaches stillness. It teaches trust. Cayce often said, "The body is the temple of the living God." In that simple sentence lies his entire philosophy. The body is not separate from the divine. It is its living expression. Every cell responds to care, to prayer, to the conscious act of love we direct toward it. When you place the warm cloth upon your skin, you participate in that same eternal gesture, the merging of light and matter, science and soul. And perhaps this is why, even now, the castor oil ritual endures. It allows us to experience in the most ordinary of ways the extraordinary truth that healing has always been within reach. So as the light fades and the music slows, Imagine the scene once more. A small glass bottle on a wooden table, amber oil catching the glow of morning sun. This is not just a relic of old medicine. It is a reminder that even the simplest substances can carry the echo of creation. Cayce's legacy lives not in superstition, but in this quiet knowing. Every act of healing is a return to the source that made us whole. And perhaps, somewhere beyond words, he still whispers the same timeless assurance that the divine light we seek is already flowing within, waiting only for our stillness to feel it again.